yeah, really positive outlook on things now and really confident.
Hi, this is Jason from I Can Thrive. I've got one of my clients here, James from the UK. He's overcoming chronic fatigue syndrome, and I'd love to share his story. All right, so let's get straight into it. So first question I have for you is, what was your life like before you became unwell? So what kind of things did you enjoy back then?
I was a very busy person, always on the go, lots of sort of weekends away hiking, various places throughout Wales and England, bike riding, mountain biking, road cycling,
Awesome.
table tennis, just generally being in the outdoors, walking my dog, lots of other activities, a bit of an adrenaline junkie, I suppose, with motorbikes and cars. It's been
Awesome,
in the
like
family for
myself.
years. So yeah, I was always cramming things in and making the most of every opportunity, I suppose.
Fantastic. All right. And what happened first when you became unwell? So what were the first signs of that kind of illness progressing for you?
Yeah, I would say that it started for me with a neck issue, and then I ended up with a lot of nerve pain,
Okay.
which was sort of radiating in my arms and my hands, which ultimately stopped me doing all the activities and sports that I loved. And I got into that pain depressive cycle for about 2 years. I would say that this was the starting point, really,
Okay.
which led me to the chronic fatigue and a whole host of other symptoms. Yeah, didn't really get any answers with the pain, with the specialists. Got really frustrated then because this wasn't improving. Changed jobs when the COVID pandemic hit, and then couldn't start my new job. Left a well-paid job in teaching to go into a new career. When that got put on hold, that was added stress on top of
Okay.
obviously of that pain cycle. My daughter was born in the middle of it all as well. I lost my granddad, so there was a whole host of things. But in the January then of 2021, I decided I was going to go and have some chiropractic procedures done. And in the lead up to the appointment, I was quite nervous. I started to get very unusual symptoms. I noticed dizziness was the first symptom. Ultimately, it had nothing to do with what I'd had done with the adjustments, and that dizziness sort of created a lot of anxiety then. Why am I feeling this way? I've never experienced dizziness before. Couldn't walk down the road, and just everything felt imbalanced. And
Wow.
yeah, from there, that's when a whole host of other symptoms started, because my stress levels went up to a point where my body was like, I just can't really take this anymore. I started getting really lethargic legs in my major muscle groups, cramps in my muscles just from walking literally a few yards around my house. Just felt completely weak in my arms as well now at this point. Really
Okay.
started to worry and stress. Then muscle twitching also started to happen all over my body. So because of all the other symptoms, these twitches just started playing on my mind, and I was literally focusing on the twitches anywhere from my throat all the way down to
Right.
my feet.
So a lot of
My,
stress around that as well, I'm sure.
yeah, and like I had probably at that point a lot of anxiety symptoms, which was sort of palpitations, throat closing, trying to catch my
Right.
breath a lot, and I was like,
Yeah.
what on earth's going on? That's when the fatigue really started to hit
Okay.
me. I was probably on about 5 or 6 symptoms, and then it just kept spiraling, and I was getting more and more symptoms.
Wow.
Well, I thought I knew what caused it, but it was completely wrong, and I need to see a doctor now. Which is when I seen a few GPs in my local surgery, and they just said that it seems like you've got health anxiety. And then I was like researching everything to do with, I was probably researching hours upon hours. Yeah, it was a scary time. At this point, I had to take time off work because I was just so caught up with these symptoms and worry that the fatigue just pretty much caused me in and out of bed for a number of weeks.
And what was that
I,
like for you at your worst? So, like at your
it,
worst, what did your days look like?
it was completely debilitating when at my worst. I went from fit and healthy and
Yeah.
active before all these issues, and I just found I couldn't even function in terms of come down, make my breakfast, felt wiped out for hours and hours, go back to bed. And then obviously the other symptoms would play their part as well, and my brain was just constantly ticking over, never shutting down as to to why these symptoms were happening. That was the main problem, I think. And I just noticed, like, drying my hair, having a shower, it's just completely fatiguing me. Not just tiredness. I was just like collapsing into bed, collapsing onto the sofa, trying to explain to my family how I felt, which is difficult until you've gone through it. I was spending hours in the day just in bed because I was worried about this fatigue all the time. I was started to stop doing things because of how bad it made me feel. All my other symptoms were so heightened, and brain fog, couldn't concentrate, couldn't like read for very long periods of time. It was just all contributing as to how I was feeling. It was a new job that I'd started, and I was extremely worried about losing the career I just got into and I'd worked hard to get into. Yeah. So that was just there as well, putting more pressure on me as like, oh, I'll feel better in a few days, or I'll be okay next week. And like, just things weren't getting any better. If anything, for the first 3 months, they got worse and worse, to the point where I was just really wasn't able to live. I had to rely on family, like my parents, to come down and help out with sorting the garden out, helping my wife with the childcare, because I couldn't even play with my daughter without. I just literally maybe watch a TV program with her, and that was the only enjoyment I sort of could get at that time. So yeah, I was in a bad place. I didn't think there was any way out at that point. I thought this was long term. My GP carried out lots of blood tests, and they were coming back perfectly normal, which I should have been pleased about, but I was more frustrated with that than anything, because I said, I've never felt this unwell. Something's got to show up at this point. So this was probably about 4 months into being really unwell. I had returned to work at this point, but it was with great difficulty, and I could only work. And then any days off I was spending just trying to recover and get any energy I could. And I said, okay, I was at a point where I thought I just want to get a diagnosis, maybe about 5 months in now. So I got referred to a neurologist who I seen really quickly. He was very supportive, and he just said to me, look, I'm going to give you an MRI scan of the brain, but I think you need to look into, and he gave me some websites on functional neurological disorders, and within that branch of neurology came chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. So I started to read it, and it was all making perfect sense. It was probably a turning point in terms of bringing my anxiety down and maybe helping my body start to relax that a little bit more. I had the brain scan, and a few weeks later I had a call back with the good news that my brain was looking very healthy. So the diagnosis he gave me on that particular day, it wasn't conclusive, but he said, if you can accept this, then you can start moving forward with your life. And I think we were about 6 or 7 months in, and he said fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome type of condition. And I said, at that point, I'd already sort of self-diagnosed that this was going to be what it was, but it was like, how am I going to get out of this?
My next question for you is, what do you think were some of the patterns that kept you stuck?
Definitely the constant worry about the crash cycle. I still was really unwell, but it felt like I had enough energy to actually help around the house for like half an hour, and then I would do that, and then it'd be completely wiped out again, and I was just going that up and down crash cycle. And then what would happen then was I would worry about, if I do this, then I'm going to crash. If I crash, how am I going to go to work? If I keep crashing, is this going to be good for my body with this fatigue, or ongoing on and off? So yeah, I think the constant worrying of what was around the corner, doing normal things, how much it was going to wipe me out. And then the first thing I'd do when I'd wake up in the morning was sort of do a symptom check. And I think, okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah, it was just, okay, my muscles are twitching terribly. Okay, the muscle weakness is still there in my legs. So it's probably going to be still in my arms. And then I'd start using my arms, and I'd find that it was feeling really weak. And then I was having lots of different hormone and chemical imbalances from the off.
Lots of stress around that too.
Yeah, and I believe that was probably the main thing that was keeping me unwell. Not having that diagnosis for a while either, and jumping around different conditions with the research was like a stressor itself. It was like my mindset was just completely wrong in terms of my wife would constantly remind me, she was like, that's brilliant, you haven't been able to do that. When I do something that little bit more, and I'd say, yeah, but it's still not very much, and I would spin a negative on it, and then I would get really frustrated with myself. There was a lot of sort of self-hate towards myself throughout this whole thing, that I've created this, I've caused this, but ultimately everything I've been through has been a huge learning curve. So I'm seeing the symptoms with a warning as to, if you carry on, you're going to become unwell. It's changed me in a lot of ways, as
I'm sure,
as you'd expect, and I'm sure as you've done for yourself. So answering that question was, that stress cycle and putting pressure on, like, what can I do and what can't I do, and how fatigued I'm going to be. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. When you signed up for my program, what was the first sign of progress that you noticed? What kind of things were you noticing straight away?
So obviously it was a good introduction to what causes all this stress, and that there's many other people as well that are gone through it. Educating myself on all these symptoms, that they're not doing me any harm. I think that was an important part. And if you can find the right balance, then you can definitely sort of get a hand on these symptoms. And I don't think I ever have been able to do that. And obviously a big part of the brain retraining program was trying to get that relaxation throughout your body. And I didn't think I'd be able to get this as relaxed as I was able to through the brain retraining. So I was apprehensive as to, is this relaxation, is it going to work, and is it going to keep me relaxed for as long as I need to be? And I started off, and I was pleasantly surprised how relaxed I was feeling throughout my whole body. I just felt really comfortable for the first time in a long time. And then I thought, okay, it's got to get consistent with this. And we talked about obviously using different sort of visualizations, and I definitely found that helped me, was changing the different situations and scenarios. Excellent. But yeah, once I got that relaxation down, and I said to my wife, I was like, I'm feeling deeply relaxed through these relaxations more than anything I've ever done before. And I genuinely think that this is probably the biggest thing for me moving forward. And then we introduced, obviously, the sort of confidence and the energy. It's just been in that stress cycle for so long. I just needed to really, really find that sweet spot. Knew then the sort of confidence and the energy ones would come. I could build off those. I definitely found it easier than I thought. I was pleasantly surprised how I took to it, and I've committed to it ever since, really.
So what kind of things are you able to do now and totally enjoy?
So I'm currently, I would say, if I was to put a figure on it, about sort of 70% recovered towards like full health.
Awesome.
Just improving that much has inspired me to obviously get to full health, and I'm going to continue to aspire to be better than full health and be a better person than I was before all this. And awesome. I think that's a big game changer as well, is that now I'm seeing those improvements. I want to keep those improvements going. So yeah, I'm back to like living a fairly normal life at the moment. I can go and walk as much as I want. I don't even think twice now about going for a walk. And I don't put a time scale on it. Before I was like, I need to be back within 15, 20 minutes because I could be overdoing it. Now I can just walk. I can go to work, and I can actually do things after work or before work, which that wasn't even possible before. It was like, if I wasn't in work, I was conserving energy to work because I needed to support the family financially. I took a 20-minute bike ride the other day, which felt good, and I had to do some brain retraining exercises after the bike ride, but yeah, managed to get them under control.
Excellent.
I'm in the process of getting my back sorted again now, which means that I'll be able to cycle more without the pain, and yeah, it's all gonna move me towards full health. Yeah, I've done a few hours gardening on the weekend, probably like 2 to 3 hours of gardening. Yeah, just cooking meals for my family. I do a little coordination test just to prove that this isn't going to stop me doing anything. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is that the fatigue is, I haven't had what I would class as a crash for about 3.5 weeks, but I don't feel like I'm going to have one again. I can't really explain why, but I don't feel like I'm going to crash again.
I think it's because you found that balance. I remember when I was getting better, I was like starting to climb mountains again, but I remember after I climbed my second mountain, I decided I was going to climb my third mountain straight away the day after. Then, of course, I was noticing some symptoms. My energy was like at a 9 or so. And then it went down to like a 6 or a 5 after climbing that mountain. And, you know, for me in the past, that probably would have been a huge crash. Of course, when I noticed symptoms and I noticed that I wasn't feeling quite right and my energy was lowering and all of that, that triggered such a huge stress response then, because I was worried about crashing, that it actually happened. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when I had the brain retraining, you know, even though I climbed that third mountain and I shouldn't have climbed it so soon after, I was able to bounce back after just 2 days. So I just rested a little bit extra for 2 days, did lots of relaxation and lots of confidence that I was going to bounce back. I watched a few movies and just like, I just knew I was going to bounce back. But I think that was pretty much the last time that I had like a bit of a dip. I wouldn't even call it a crash really, because I knew exactly what to do. And you're at that point now as well. You know, if you did overdid it a little bit, you know exactly what to do. So that's the end of the boom and bust kind of pattern. Another question that I have for you is, what are you looking forward to in your near future?
So I obviously texted you the other day saying that I'm gonna do it's Pen y Fan it's called, and it's like the highest peak in South Wales.
Awesome.
It's no, you know, Everest or anything, but I used to walk this regularly without even thinking twice about it, probably a few times a month. It's only about 45 minutes from where I live. But for me, I'm going to go up there Friday, and I know that's going to be a massive achievement, because when you aren't able to do those things, all you're constantly doing is thinking about those things you're able to do. And I'm like, well, I'm actually going to do it now. I'm not going to try and do it as fast as I can. If it takes
Just
me
enjoy it.
hour and a half, it takes me an hour and a half, where I could
Doesn't
have done it
matter.
in 40 minutes in the past. I'm just going to enjoy it and just see how far I've come.
Yes, right. I want to hear about you climbing that mountain. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pen y Fan done. About 2 hours. I'll take that back on the bottom. I'm definitely going to be getting back on the bike a lot more as well.
Brilliant.
Big thing for me is interacting with my daughter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing, like, my daughter, we went to the cinema the other day, just me and her. And like, because I've been so reliant on people helping me with my daughter. So if my wife's been to work and I've had to have my daughter, I've had to have my mother or mother-in-law to be there to support me, because I just did not have the energy to do it. So I had her, I'm having her on my own now for full days, and that has been unbelievably fulfilling. And yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, it feels good in here, you know. And
wow, that's absolutely awesome. I can only imagine what that must feel like, you know, being able to do that. And wow,
yeah, I just feel
gratitude
like
must be going through the roof.
a good a good father again. Not that I was a bad father, because I didn't choose to go through this, but I did definitely felt like one. So
right, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay,
yeah,
feels so good.
holidays, you know, I was thinking, am I ever going to be able to go see the world again? Well, I'm like looking forward once
Bring it
COVID
on.
restrictions and everything
Yeah,
have gone, or if
awesome.
they ever go. Like, I'm looking forward to holidays and seeing places again. And
Yeah,
really, really positive outlook on things now, and really confident of, you know, hopefully we'll be speaking again in the near future of a full recovery.
we will definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic, James. So, one more question that I have for you is, if someone was thinking about signing up for my program, what would you say to them?
So I would say that you shouldn't be sitting on something for too long, because I came across the program and I just thought, this is too good to be true. It's not going to help me. And that probably 6 weeks I was sat on there, I could have been 6 weeks getting better.
I understand.
You know, and I think people, when they're so ill and then they see people recover, I found that you always think you're worse than the other person and this can't work for you.
Right.
Until you make that leap forward to go, yeah, I'm going to commit to something like this brain retraining, and it's given me the toolkit in terms of dealing with the symptoms, which
Yes.
were just ruling me before. So I'd say definitely go for it. If you're going to go for it, though, you can't go in, you know, half-heartedly, or with the attitude that this isn't going to work for me. You've got to be really open to it. You've got to be consistent. And I'll admit, when I started feeling better initially with the brain retraining, I would stop doing it so much, and then I'd end up worse again.
Okay.
So what I've had to do is that when I'm feeling a lot better, which I have been, I've still got to commit to that consistency, and I'm implementing it probably a little bit less than I was, but when I need it. So yeah, give
Excellent.
it a go. fully commit to it, and you're going to see those results moving forward.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, James, so much. I'm sure this is going to inspire so many people. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you when I'm back in the UK sometime as well. Maybe we'll climb a mountain together. Who knows?
Yeah, that'll be brilliant.
Awesome.
I'd love that. Welcome to come to Wales anytime.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so I hope everyone enjoys this interview. And if you could do one thing for me, I'd absolutely hugely appreciate if you could share this interview with any of your friends, your family, anyone who's going through chronic fatigue, to let them know what's possible, that they can actually get better as well. All right. Thank you so much, James. Take care, everyone.
Not a problem.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care now.